The Cabots were merchants and mariners who came to Massachusetts in the 17th century, settling first in Salem. Following the death of Joseph Cabot in 1768, his widow moved to Beverly with 8 of her 9 surviving children. The house she built in 1773 originally stood on the corner of Central and Cabot Street and was moved further down on Central Street in the 1920s. It is still standing and now houses several apartments. The John Cabot House is one of the first brick structures built in Beverly. It was home to merchant ship owner John Cabot from 1781 to 1802. During that period, the Cabot family was the most important family in Beverly community because of their active in political affairs, maritime commerce, privateering, and banking. In 1802, the building became the first office of the newly formed Beverly Bank, the 10th oldest bank in America. John Cabot was one of its 7 original directors. The building is currently home to the Beverly Historical Society. The John Cabot House is a Gregorian-style mansion built during the Revolutionary War. That's proof that the Cabots made a great deal of money during the war as owners of privateer vessels. It was the first brick mansion built in Beverly, once again. The parlor room is furnished as it might have been during the Cabot residency. The wealth of the Cabot family is reflected in the architecture of the house, the beautifully carved paneling and decorations, such as the Dutch tiles around the fireplace. It would have been furnished with elegant furniture and decorative objects from around the world, a showplace to emphasize the success of John Cabot. Brother George and Andrew Cabot also built a Gregorian brick mansion nearby. At his home, George entertained George Washington during the president's tour of the region. The mansion was later torn down. Andrew's house later became Beverly Town Hall. In 1802, John Cabot sold the house for $5,000 to the newly formed Beverly Bank. The bank leased a southerly part of the house to Cabot for 7 years. Edward Burley purchased the house in 1834 from the Beverly Bank. As a condition of sale, Burley added an exterior door, a window, and the day vault to the bank room. Burley also altered the entry, recessing it and adding Greek-style features popular in the 1800s. The bank found new quarters in 1868. The Burleys had no children, and in 1891, Mr. Burley willed the building to newly formed Beverly Historical Society. It was John Cabot and George Cabot who became one of the first senators from Massachusetts, and their brother Andrew Cabot. There are actually more of them, but those are the primary ones. The Cabots had a lot of money and also much political influence. The Beverly Bank was formed in 1802 when the new republic was trying to resolve its chaotic money and banking systems. Local banks were permitted to print and circulate their own printed money. Foreign bills and coins plus counterfeit money contributed to the confusion. The most common coin of the period wasn't from the United States, but it was the gold Spanish piece of 8. In 1802, Beverly had a population of nearly 4,000 inhabitants. To raise capital, the group that launched the Beverly Bank sold shares that amounted to 80,000. As the records show, it wasn't just men who became shareholders. Several women appeared in the records as well. Investigators in the bank were a small, tight network of individuals who were linked by ties of family, marriage, business, college, and organizations. In addition to the bank, many of these people invested in the Essex Bridge, the cotton mill, and other enterprises, both local and other states. John and Andrew Cabot were the wealthiest merchants in Beverly. Their brothers George and Joseph and brother-in-law Joseph Lee were also involved in the company. They sold dry fish to Spain and the Caribbean and imported a variety of goods, including sugar, iron, and sailcloth. As their business expanded, they added routes traveling to other European countries, as in Russia and Asia. Coe was an extremely successful privateer captain, and one of the reasons that Beverly merchants who had shares in the vessels made so much money during the Revolution. He was born in Ireland in 1741, and he came to the Americas while still a young man. He was a great supporter of American liberty. Beverly was really active in the Committee of Correspondence, which was before the war, and they were trying to get the British to back off on all the taxes. The Price Act was an act that they were trying to get people to come together and write letters and things like that before the revolution had started. When the war started, the people were very supportive, even if they had to go to war, even though it meant a lot of hardship. Moses Brown was a captain. There was a battle right in Beverly. It was a sea battle between Hannah and Nautilus. Nautilus sailed into Beverly chasing the Hannah. They fought it out, and one of 9-pound cannonballs actually hit Cabot Street. It was an indecisive battle. Everyone was scared and freaked because the British could have attacked them, and they didn't have any coastal defenses. Moses Brown was asked by the leaders of Beverly, who had a raised company of men to fight, and they asked him and his company to build fortifications along the waterfront, and one of them still survived at Hospital Point. There is still a lighthouse there today. In 1776, when they signed the Declaration in Philadelphia, a printer named Dumont printed a bunch of copies of the Declaration of Independence and sent them to colonials, where they went and read them aloud. The Declaration also came to Beverly the day before it was read in Boston, and it was read by Colonel John Glover, who raised regiment that fought in the Revolutionary War, and he read that by on the water on July 17th in 1776. Dr. Joshua Fisher was a doctor. He had a medicine chest that he used during the American Revolution. The portable chest had divisions for lint, bandages, bottle medicines, and instruments. Because of the embargo, the economic recession, he started in John Cabot House, something called the Society, which helped the poor people in the town that were suffering during the first decade of 1800s. He gave them money for fuel and food, and he gathered money from the other contributors. This group of men from Essex County, they formed something called the Essex Junta. In terms of politics, there were a lot of clout. After the embargo, a bunch of New Englanders met in Hartford, and they were so angry at Jefferson they proposed seceding from the Union during the early 1800s. They didn't obviously follow through, but they were angry enough that there was consideration given to them, and the Essex Junta were a part of the political group.